What's up, guys? This is Off the Ropes. How's it going, everybody? Good evening on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. This is George
This is
here
we.
with us. Sorry, with a special guest, and of course, my boy here, Mr. Julian.
What's going on, people? We're back for another one right here with our special guest as well, George.
What's up? What's up? How's it going tonight, man? How you doing? Welcome to the podcast today. And
Hey, I
I
appreciate it, fellas. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you guys letting me grab a vine, man, and swing in the jungle with you.
Heck yeah, it's gonna be a fun one right now.
yeah, for sure,
A
man,
lot to
and
talk about. A lot to talk about.
Yeah, plenty.
plenty. Yes, most definitely, man. And the other night, me and you had a good conversation about some of these fights that just happened this weekend before what our predictions, what we thought of each fighter, and here we are. We're going to be doing a recap. So first thing on the menu we have is the Haney and the Haney and Diaz fight that happened this Saturday. Um, you know what stood out to you, Julian? I'll go to you first. So on this undercard that happened, what fight in the undercard stuck out to you, and
Well,
give us a breakdown. What do you think?
well, let's put it this way. I mean, I was watching the Montana Love fight. I was actually looking forward to it, the Montana Love fight, only because, I mean, I wanted to see pretty much if he's ready for the next level. That he's. I mean, because he didn't make weight. Of course, he came in overweight in this fight. But they're saying that he had a lot of trouble making the weight. So I'm thinking now it's time for him to move up in weight if he's gonna have the trouble doing that. I mean, but the kid looked good as always. I mean, sharp, combinations good. But he showed out. I mean, and just the shout out to to a McCaskill, man, the McCaskill killer. Jeez. That's what they call it, right? The McKiller, right?
Oh man, yes, for sure, for sure, yeah. And it was, from we understand too, that was Montana Love's first fight, right, with Matchroom.
Yes. First fight that he signed with Matchroom.
Yeah, for sure. Now, wait, floor is yours, man. What fight stood out to you on that undercard of the Diaz and Haney?
Well, the main event definitely stood out to me, man. But that Montana Love, he
Mhm.
is a diva. He is a straight diva, man.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, but just even if you can't remember the name, just the whole way he came out, coming out with the dog and everything. You know what I mean? I've never seen. Now, being that we've all watched boxing for a while, we've definitely seen um, what different ways of guys have made their way to the ring over the years, but I've never seen anything quite like that. You know what I mean? I've never seen anybody come with the lap dog. You know what I mean?
Nope. That's true, man.
Came with a lap dog to the ring, but dude looked good. Dude looked
Yeah.
good, man. Good footwork, good head movement. He stayed behind the jab. The jab was snappy. You know, depending upon who he fights coming up next. I know he looked good against the guy that was in front of him. But when he does step up the competition, then we'll definitely see what he's made of. But from what I saw, he looked good. He looked good.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely agree with you guys on the Montana Love. I know before we came on, we talked a little bit. McCaskill, of course, being a female fighter, that stood out to me really well because I feel like the women's division is starting to catch some smoke and some heat finally. Which
Hmm.
not that it never has, but right now you got so many women. You got Serrano, you got Shields coming back in, trying to make a stamp again. McCaskill, Katie Taylor,
Meyer.
yeah,
Right?
Meyer,
Bumgarner,
Alicia Bumgarner. Yeah, there's so many right now that you can
La
make a little
Cobra
mini
Rey.
tournament. Yeah, you can make a little mini tournament. So I would definitely want to give
Yeah.
my 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 flowers out to McCaskill. And yeah, Montana Love did stick out. I think the first time I seen him was on the Jake Paul undercard, and he was even flashy there too, and it was pretty funny to see him with the dog. Um, and man, shit, I could honestly say that I always like to say the eye test, and he definitely passed the eye test to me.
And he came out to Banda music, bro.
He,
Oh, oh.
what's yeah, no shit. At the sombrero, the colors. You
Hey,
know, I was even
hey,
hearing some guys talking about that they're gonna come out with an alligator and some old guy walking out the alligator to a ring rock or ring
what?
walk. I was like, God damn, that we've seen some crazy ones in the past, but this was a diva for sure with the dog.
Yeah,
But
Um,
back it up. He could back it up for sure, man. I
yeah.
mean, Diaz,
yeah.
right? He fought Diaz was in front of him this weekend, and he was no pushover his last fight. That's the reason he was in this fight.
Mhm.
Uh, the last fight he came off of what, a knockout fight, I believe it was
Yeah,
in
he
the
beat Bernchik.
in the ninth round, was it?
Yeah, I believe so. It was a competitive fight, that first one. This one right here, he was just completely dominant. Everything was working for him. Counters, those counters is nice, man. Those check hooks, I really love check hooks,
Four
especially
knock.
coming from
With
southpaw
snap and power on those shots too. And
too.
I like the way he took his time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't get greedy. You know, he just took his time, took what was right there in front of him, and when it presented itself, man, it was good punch placement. You know, he picked the right shots. You know, it was I like the fighter IQ as well. You know, he didn't just start going crazy, throwing shots all over the place, just making it apparent that he's trying to get the guy out of there. He took his time and picked the right shots, man. I was impressed with that.
Well,
Yeah,
that is
very.
true. And Montana Love has a heavy amateur career. I mean, so I believe he took this into the pro career, which is what we're
Hmm.
seeing now. I mean, now it's just advancing and they're advancing every fight that we see him in.
Yeah, most definitely, man. So that was, I guess, our standout. So moving on to the main event. I mean, what can I say? It was a damn good fight, but
Mm,
before I get into it, I definitely want to pass it on to you guys. And wait, what was your thoughts, man, on this main event? What did you think, or what did you see? Was it what you expected, or more?
Um, it wasn't quite what I expected.
thank
Remember me and you had talked earlier. We had talked before the fight,
Mhm.
and I had mentioned, I said, man, I said, if JoJo has a gas tank and he can fight rounds 1 through 12 spirited, if he can fight a spirited fight 1 through 12, then we might be surprised at what we see. I think Diaz felt like he was trying to reserve his tank, that he
Mhm.
didn't want to give out of gas, because you saw like rounds 8 through 12, or maybe 7 through 12, you saw him starting to pick up. Uh, he started to pick up his output, and when he picked up the output, Diaz was winning those like fight exchanges. Like when the fight broke out, those exchanges, Diaz was getting the better of the exchanges. But when there was no action, Devin stayed busy with those body shots and keeping that jab on him, you
Mhm.
know. And I think it was difficult for Diaz to get around that jab because Devin was so busy with it. You know,
Mhm.
he was doubling up on the jab, and he kept good distance, and he wasn't a stationary target. You know, he was moving around the ring. Excuse me. So it made it kind of difficult for Diaz kind of to just get set, and then just come in, but because Devin was constantly moving. But toward the latter part of the fight, Diaz started to pick it up. But if he was able to fight rounds 1 through 12 the way he fought 7 through 12, 8 through 12, who knows what we would have saw. But he definitely showed heart. Um, you definitely looking forward to see what his next fight will be. But I think the size difference too gave him a lot of problems too. Just being that Devin was so long, and a
Mhm.
lot of times you find fighters that's tall, but they don't necessarily fight tall. I think Devin fought tall. He fought tall. He used his length. He allowed his natural tools to make the fight easy for him. So
you.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is
I was impressed with Devin.
Yeah, Julian.
that's hey, you know what? I mean, he couldn't have hit it any more on the button. About JoJo. I mean, yes, if JoJo did have the tank that he had at the end of the fight, throwing, getting in there, causing a little bit of disruption for Haney. I just feel that he took some rounds off too. I felt like he let Devin Haney, just like Anwar said, he let Devin Haney come in there with the body work. I mean, you got to give it to Haney in this fight. The body was beautiful. The body work was beautiful. The jab is always beautiful
Yes, it
on
was.
what he does. Yes,
Yes, it was.
the jab is always great.
Yep.
And that's what I love about Haney. He knows how to use the jab, and he knows how to work behind it. My only issue with Haney, I mean, we've talked about it before, George, is his power. I mean, a lot of people are saying, well, you don't have to have power. I mean, this is a boxer sport. But, I mean, some of us want to see the power in some of these bigger fighters, too. I mean, does Haney do the same thing against a guy like Cambozos? I mean, can he pull that off? But I mean, that's for another question. Up the line right here. But I just feel, I mean, hey, Devin Haney, like I said, he showed out. Um, Jojo Diaz, like I said, it was more of a Haney fought his fight, Jojo didn't.
Yeah. Most definitely. I agree with
Yeah.
both you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It was Haney keeping him at that distance, with that jab and those counter rights. And it did look a little bit like he was trying to reserve his tank a little bit for the middle, because like even looked like about the fourth round, you can see him like start to move a little bit more, try to get on the inside and then work a little bit. And then about the sixth, seventh round is when you see him start to throw more punches, more combinations. But I don't think um, he was just getting offset. I think it's just Haney keeping him on the outside, the jab, the rights, the counters, and that's usually how it is with a counter fighter. You got a guy that he may have not had the power to hurt him, but at least he had the shots to keep him honest, to try to come in on the inside to implement his game plan, and that's what I saw Haney do. Now, as far as like the power, I mean, yeah, of course, to a person that wants to see knockouts, it didn't. He didn't show up for the knockout, but that's okay, because like for us, like me, us three right here, we understand how boxing is. It's the sweet science. It's taking the other man's strength away, and that's exactly what we saw Haney do. Is he took pretty much Diaz's strengths away from keeping him from the inside. But same thing, that's what you get when you have two fighters, Haney and Diaz. This is what you get, a really close fight. You had some people saying it was a draw. Some people said Haney, won 7-5, or a really close fight. To me, I had Haney winning by about 2 rounds when I watched it again. It was really close, man. It was hard, but when I watched it live, I had Haney by 1. And we always say the score that matters the most is what happens in the night. I mean, in the moment, because it's not like they can go 2 days later and be like, hey, you know what? We reassessed the fight, and this guy actually won. So that's the way I saw it.
Well, reasonable right there. I mean, you just said it too. I mean, it was a closer fight as you watched it more and more. I mean, from the first fight, I had definitely Haney winning big time at the beginning, at the first watch, but as it kept going, I mean, I had him by 2 rounds.
Mhm.
And that's how I had the score, 7-5.
Yeah, for sure. And then, after we do our little recap on some of these fights, then we'll go back and we'll discuss where each guy goes. So, before we get into that, we'll go into Sunday's event, which was Tank versus Isaac Cruz. I know we talked about the co-main event, Fundora.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what did you guys see in Fundora? Did he impress you guys? Is he what you guys expected, especially fighting a little bit more competition? Julian, what was your thoughts on that, man?
Well, check this out. He had his game going like he usually does, from 1 to 3, rounds 1, 2, 3. What's the guy he fought in that last name? Garcia, right? I'll tell you what, I was impressed by what he did. Being able to actually get into his guard. He broke his nose. Actually, let you guys know, he broke his nose. Yeah, his nose is broken. And it's crazy, dog. I mean, it was
Oh, what?
yeah. I mean, like I said, I mean, like Fundora. I mean, once he got hit with that shot, I mean, it was a different fight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he showed the adversity level, of course, and he got out of. I mean, he pretty much was able to still throw his punches, but he was breathing out of his mouth the whole fight.
Yeah, you could see that. You could see his nose was broke. I think it was about it was like halfway through the fight, right? Or a
Yeah,
little sooner.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
no.
it was the fourth round. It happened. It happened early. It happened in the middle rounds, fourth round when he got caught the overhand right.
Yeah, no, I did see that. And then, like they said, Garcia, he wasn't. He was like a counter fighter, more of like a boxer rather than like a come forward fight. Watch, give me one moment. Hold on.
I know. Well, keep everybody entertained. How we doing, everybody?
Oh shit. All right, cool. Sorry about that. No, it was just a little loud noise over here. It was just my girlfriend.
You got scared.
Yeah, I did. I was like, oh shit. I had to reach under the couch or under the bed real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they said Garcia was a counter fighter, but he actually was coming forward. He was making this fight happen. And Fundora, I thought he did pretty good. I just kept seeing the same uppercut, right hook, and then you see some jabs from him too. He's a young fighter. I think, what is he, like 23?
23. He's just a moving target, though, I believe. I mean, somebody smarter, I mean, a more veteran type fighter I think, would put him on his ass.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as of this point, if you don't learn his head movement, it's a little different. I mean, head movement has a lot to do. I mean, look at Canelo. I mean, he came a long way from where he was when he fought Mayweather.
Yep.
His head movement now, I mean, it's just a different game. But, I mean, him being a taller dude, I mean, he's prone to those overhand rights, He's prone to getting killed in the body,
Yeah,
And it's just, I think he found out how to get into his guard, and beat that. I mean, Fundora did win, but I mean, you got to give it to Garcia for getting out there, man. It was great. I mean, the good performance on his end. I mean, he has nothing to be ashamed of on this fight. I mean, this is probably going to get him more of a rep now, where he's at, and I just feel he's he's a force to be reckoned with here down the line. I mean, fights like this are what are actually going to get him more opportunities down the line.
Yeah, and I think that was what you saw, like on both nights, where some of these guys lost, but they got a platform, and people got to see who they were. Rather, that's what I saw. That's what I at least think. Even the guys that lost, except for Montana Love's opponent. Yeah, I don't think he's ever been stopped or ever got beat like that. But I think apart from everybody else,
another one that we didn't talk about that I actually one of my favorite fighters, Mark the freaking boxer, baby. Mark Castro fought.
Yeah,
first fight of the night. Mark Castro, like I said, he looked good just from start to the second round. It was over the second round, and he just too much for his opponent. That kid could move. I think he has the tools, to be great. It's just another guy we could talk about too, right there, Mark Castro. But Fundora and Garcia fight really stood out to me. Just because of what he was able to do to Fundora, and Fundora actually going through the adversity that we actually never seen him go through and get through the 10 rounds.
Fundora, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're definitely right, man. He definitely has potential, and then this is the same thing, right, with the father son duel. And I don't think many of us mentioned too to forget was that Devin Haney's dad. I think Teofimo's dad should have taken a page from Devin Haney's dad's book. He took the back seat, or he took the passenger seat, or maybe the back passenger seat, and watched everybody else
Train him.
Yeah, train his son, and you can't, sometimes you just got to put your pride to the side and know what's best for your son, and that's what I think. What's Devin Haney's dad's name?
Dang. Jesus Lord, they're saying it all day.
Yeah, I was hearing it all day too. I know, but Mr. Haney, that right there shows a lot of pride because we're really prideful, man, and we want to be able to say we're the ones that got our son, or we got that person to the championship, and Bill Haney.
Yeah, there you go.
It might be Bill Haney, but either way, Devin Haney's father. That I think that's cool, and I've been seeing too with Teofimo's dad and Teofimo. I think I hope, because I mean Teofimo is definitely one of my favorite fighters, and I know how it could be sometimes when you have your dad there in that corner. Hopefully they hear everybody telling him like, hey, look, man, if you want to have a chance, like you and your dad need to have a serious sit down and talk and discuss what the move's going to be from here on out.
Yeah, what's next?
Yeah, exactly. We got to have a plan B, a plan C, and not just go out there and knock this motherfucker out. What the fuck are you doing? That's not
you.
Yeah, those aren't instructions. That's just anger.
That's not the Loma Theo we saw.
No, that's what everybody was mentioning, right? That this isn't the Theo that fought Loma. Imagine if this was the Theo that fought Loma against Kambosos. And we also just found out about him having his the air in his lungs or in his chest, how dangerous that could have been.
Yeah, I mean it's happening to basketball player right now too, which is going through the same thing. I mean, there's
something out there, man.
It's a crazy thing going on right now. I mean, but that could come from pretty much anything. A lot of people are saying it's the Thor hit, when he took a shot from Thor Jorgensen, the big dude. But I mean, it's had nothing to do with that. I mean, it could be from anything. It could be from coughing, dry heaving, stuff like that. But prayers up to Teofimo Lopez, man. I mean, luckily, he still gave us the fight that he gave us that day. But like I said, I mean, you got to give the big ups too. I mean, just to Kambosos. I mean, he was the better man that night.
Yeah, he definitely was, bro. But Fundora, hopefully they seek some kind of, more advice from some help in the corner wouldn't be bad. As you can see, Bill Haney. It is Bill Haney.
Yeah, Bill Haney.
Yeah. All right, we got him back. You see him?
Yeah.
All right.
Hey.
Oh, hey, but I don't know what happened, man. I don't know what happened. Like all of a sudden, everybody just left and just disappeared.
No, you're good, bro. You're good. I was like, oh shit.
It's all good. You're back now, though.
You're just in time. You're just in time, man. We just discussed what we saw, the fight with Fundora. But we're just about to get into the main event. We also were mentioning too, I guess what they were saying about Teofimo, how he actually had air in his lungs. And remember how we were saying that someone was like, we heard that it was possible elbow injury, that it was possible infidelity with the wife, pneumonia. And I guess, this is the doctor saying that it was air in his chest or whatever, that it could have been very dangerous or he could have died. So, I guess we're just sending off our get well soon to Teofimo over here from Off the Ropes. But yeah, man, so, we'll go ahead and get into it now. Yeah. We have, the main course, Tank and Cruz. And what do you see, man? What was it that stood out to you and what surprised you? Because I think that's kind of the theme right now is the surprise.
Yeah. I tell you what, when me and you spoke, I thought that from both main event fights from this weekend, if there would be an upset, I thought it would be the Diaz Haney fight. I did not expect the Cruz and Tank fight to play out the way it did. But hey, like they say, that's why they put on the gloves. That's why they put on the gloves. And I tell you what, Cruz made himself. It's almost like a star was born. He just made himself a whole lot of money from his performance this weekend because I did not expect to see that. I did not expect to see that, man. Kudos to him. kudos to him. Cruz, one thing that I thought, especially against a guy like Tank, you're not gonna have continued success against a guy like Tank without a jab. But I was surprised to see that Cruz did. Cruz did have success against Tank without the use of a jab. He was good at taking the jab away. He was good at
Yeah,
taking the jab away from Tank, but he
Mhm.
really didn't have a jab of his own that he used to punch his way in. But he still was able to have success, man. He was
yeah,
Yep.
durable. Another thing with him, uh, good punch placement, and now Cruz fought that fight the way Diaz should have fought that fight. Cruz
Yep.
fought Cruz fought rounds 1 through 12, whether he lost or not. He fought rounds 1 through 12. JoJo didn't fight rounds 1 through 12. He was sitting there trying to, wait to see his way in. Cruz made a way in. Cruz made a way in. He ripped off shots to the body. And actually, to tell you the truth, a lot of those shots that Tank was ripping off was bouncing off of Cruz's glove. Like like
Oh
hey,
yeah.
uh like we
hey,
like we like to say in the gym, he held that telephone up to his ear. Cruz had his hands up. A lot of those shots was bouncing off the gloves. He's already short, so he was just able to just bend down, just bend
yep,
down. A lot of shots was going over his head, and he kept charging forward, man. And the dude was strong. The
yes,
dude was real strong, and even though Tank was hitting him with some shots, his body language and his facial expressions wasn't showing you that he was getting hit or that he was hurt. And he
Yep.
kept coming forward. So a lot of people definitely be looking to, you're more so wondering who you're going to see Cruz in the fight next, more so,
hey, hey,
just as much as Tank.
hey, hold on, check this out. Being that we're on that subject now, I'm just gonna say it now, okay? George, being that we talked about it. What about a JoJo Cruz fight? Just to see who.
Oh man.
What do you think about that?
JoJo and Cruz. Hey man, you know
Off of
what?
a loss. Off of a loss.
Off of a loss, I tell you what, JoJo better let his hands go, because if not, hey, that little pocket Mike Tyson gonna come after him, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't
That
even know.
little pocket Mike Tyson's gonna come
Yeah,
after him.
I didn't even know he was the co. I guess his co-promoter was Manny Pacquiao, and I
Yes.
did I did see like the logo of like the fist on his trunks, and for some reason I thought it was like a no fear sticker, and then when I was listening earlier or I was reading, I was giving a shout outs to Manny Pacquiao. I was like, oh shit, well that makes sense. That makes so much
Yeah,
sense. But you're
and,
right,
and
man.
I
That's
didn't know that.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and then just what I saw was, they say, yeah, Tank hurt his hand. We seen the pictures now, and I
Yeah,
mean, he fought through it. But like you said, the pressure was too much for Tank. He couldn't land the uppercut cleanly at all that whole fight.
nope,
He landed it maybe once or twice, but Cruz took it.
Hmm.
Cruz
yeah,
took it. You got to give the hand speed to Javante Davis, and he did. That's some damn good hand speed he has. He knows how to work behind his jab. I just feel defensively he has a weakness, and I think that weakness will be picked apart. If he don't fix it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Julian.
yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, like I said, I'm just saying. He wants all the smoke. And with all these other dudes, Cambozos and stuff like that. I just don't see. With what we saw Sunday, I don't see him beating those guys right now.
It's tough. It's a
Um,
tough call.
yeah, it is a tough call. I think Tank have an opponent in front of him that was shorter than him was an adjustment, because we used to seeing Tank always be the smaller guy, you
Yep.
know, against
Barrios,
against against Barrios, against Leo, he's always the shorter guy. So to have a guy shorter in front of him that has good head movement, and that uppercut is usually a money punch for Tank, but he wasn't able to land that punch consistently, but just moving around, he made him miss a lot.
Yep.
He made Cruz miss a lot. That jab always seemed to find his way home. I think he mostly won the fight, pretty much off the jab, the
Yep.
body shots, and that's boxing, man. You're not going to look spectacular every night.
Not at
Some
all.
nights you're going to come in there and you're going to be flat. You're going to be mediocre. But can you still push your way and win the fights against guys that you're supposed to win fights against, even though you might not look spectacular doing it? And I think it's important, especially for Tank, to have a fight like that,
Yep.
where it's not necessarily your best performance, but you still come out and find a way to get the job done. As far as him going up against the top tier guys at 135, we'll see. We definitely know that Tank is talented. The way that he looks going forward might not be the way that we see him look the way he did on Sunday night. As far as Kambosos, I know Kambosos looked good against Jeff. Is Kambosos a Buster Douglas? When you
Ouch.
when you come, you know what I mean? When you come out and you have that one night where everything just happens to go right, or is Kambosos a guy that's creeping up out of nowhere, that's going to be a champion, that's going to have his foot cemented, in the division like Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford came out of nowhere. The next thing we know, he's a 2-week replacement against
Breedis Scott or Breedis.
Yeah, against Breedis
Breedis.
Prescott. Yeah, against
Yeah.
Breedis Prescott.
I remember that.
Now Terrence Crawford is a world champion. So who is Kambosos gonna be? Kambosos, he beat Teofimo just like Teofimo beat Lomachenko.
Yeah.
Yep.
Teofimo beats Lomachenko. Now he comes back his next fight. Now he loses. So who is Kambosos gonna be? Is what I need to know. We have an idea pretty much of who Tank is, but even though, and that's boxing for you, that's so funny. Now, here Kambosos he's the undisputed champion, but we have no idea who he is. We don't know who he is. I know what he did on one given night, but I don't know who Kambosos is. He still got to show me who he is.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
absolutely right. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right, man. And that's what you want to see. That second fight, you don't want it to, what I'm hoping, and I hope what he has in his mind is he probably already seen these past guys that come through that got that one win. And he, to me, he just seems like he's a hungrier fighter. And we said the same thing when Teofimo beat Loma. We're like, that was a hungry ass fighter right there. He was determined.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to take a loss. And the same thing with George Kambosos. He was getting hit with some bombs in that first round where I think anybody less than Kambosos would have been out. I think he just has the determination. And I'm hoping at least when he does go into his second fight for his first defense that, and in his mind, he doesn't want to make it seem like a fluke. Look at Andy Ruiz. I mean, it's a heavyweight, yes. The spotlight got to him. I don't know. I feel like I feel a little different about Kambosos for some reason. I am giving him the benefit of the doubt.
I do too.
And then look at his Jeff Horn. Yeah, he did lose the Pacquiao, but he got a win. But look what happened. So I think
Crawford tore him apart.
He
definitely wants. I hope, at least I'm thinking he's gonna see all these guys in the past that had their first defense, that it wasn't a fluke. Because when we had a breakdown, me and Julian, we pretty much said the same thing, that Kambosos was gonna do really good in the beginning, and Lopez was gonna take over from like 5th to the 8th round and eventually get a stoppage. Because I've seen his fights, and again, the eye test, you can see the skills there. You can see the head movement, the jab, his good footwork, and then you mentioned something when we talked about it was his rhythm. And I watched it again, and I could definitely see that his rhythm is completely different from a European and American fighter. I don't know what it is, but you could just see it.
Just a swagger, a different swagger that he has. That
Australian swag. Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, bro, he carries it well. I mean,
yeah, he does. And you know what? He's a gentleman too, man. Like he was at both fights. He wasn't talking shit. He was just like, yeah, hey, it was their night. Congratulations. But hey, don't forget, I'm here. Like
Yeah.
you guys,
Hey,
we want to fight for these belts. Let's get these belts. Let's get it going.
he gave it to
Yeah,
Haney,
you know,
and he gave it to Isaac.
and it's a trip. You know, these gentlemen that's in this sport, the gentlemen in boxing are some dogs, man. Cambosis, Sean Porter, you know what I
Crawford.
mean? Them guys like that, they are some dogs. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
It's funny. They are
This
some dogs.
Yeah,
You
I mean
know,
you have
their personality definitely doesn't match their fighting style. You know.
no man, and that's the whole saying back in the when you grow up. Like my dad was the one to say, hey, you know what? That quiet kid in the back, that's the guy you want to be a friend with because he's gonna be the
That's
one with
right.
everybody's
That's
ass. You don't
right.
want, and that's Cambosis.
That's
He's a
right.
nice guy. That smile, don't let that smile fool you.
and it's funny that we're talking about this too, because like Brandon Figueroa,
That's
it doesn't
right.
look like it doesn't look like that kid could brawl, but that son of
Nah,
a bitch could brawl, bro.
he looks like he's in a mariachi band.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Plays the trumpet. He plays the
Yeah,
trumpet.
hey, I'm saying it because
And
my
you know what?
brother
I
was
think,
in
you know,
mariachi. I'm sorry, go ahead, Anwar.
and I think this, and not to take nothing away from Cambosis. I'm sorry. Not to take nothing away from Cambosis, but I think that this is definitely a case for Teofimo is when cherry picking goes wrong. He did
Yeah,
not expect that from Cambosis.
no,
He
I
didn't
heard that.
expect that.
I heard that plenty
He did,
online.
Yeah. 13-1. Not just Lopez, but all of us were fooled.
you're right.
Except for the betting dudes that
Right. Exactly.
have some money to put
Exactly.
it down to have money to put down on both and every outcome. And they're like, oh, guess what? By the way, I actually picked Gambosa's to win, and both of them knock each other down. So they picked parlays, and dude, he had everybody folding. You're right. It could have been a definite cherry pick that went wrong. He could have given Lomachenko the rematch. He could have went a different route. I guess he just saw Cambosis. Like I said, the rankings came out, and before this new ranking, Cambosis was number 9. So at least he thought, you know what, I'm fighting the guy in the top 10. I'm gonna give him a chance. He's yelling my name, so why not?
Yeah.
Look what happened.
Cherry picking gone wrong. Cherry picking.
It almost turned out like that too for
Exactly.
the Haney, the Cruz and Tank. It could have turned out that way. And man, it could have. There was lots of factors in it.
Yeah, 115, 113.
That was my score.
Yeah, that's
if it was going that way.
113. Yeah,
Yep.
that's one round. That's
That's
one
one
round.
round.
You know, what if he would have jumped all over him in that 12th round?
You're right.
Yep.
What if he got that?
What if he would have jumped all over him in that 12th round? You know, or what if he would have knew? And that's another thing about boxing, man. You got to have a good poker face because Javante couldn't let Cruz know that his hand was hurt. You know what I mean? The only way we knew that I didn't notice that Tank's hand was hurt until like the 10th round. I didn't notice it until the 10th round. But he couldn't lead it on to let Cruz know that his hand was hurt. And Cruz, like I mentioned earlier, Cruz had a good poker face himself because his body language and his facial expressions never let you know that the punch, that jab was getting to him or that he was hurt. He just kept coming forward no matter how many combinations. And doing earlier in the fight, I saw Tank ripping off combinations, hitting him with combos, but Cruz, his body, like in the gym, like we call it, the language of a fighter. His body language never told you that any of that was bothering him. So if he had any inclination, hey, this fool is not throwing the left hand, it could have been bad news.
It could have, man. And
I
I even saying
bad news. But yeah, 115, 113.
I was even thinking too, like my girlfriend was watching it with me.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'll say, my girlfriend was watching with me, and she was like, "This is a close fight." Like she doesn't really understand boxing, but when I'm watching it, it catches her attention a little bit. Maybe because the guys don't got a shirt on, whatever the fuck. I don't care. But I was like, you know what? I'm like, you might not care, but I'm gonna go ahead and let you know.
So you're looking at their bodies, is what you're saying.
I'm trying to work on my dad bar, bro. Come on, now I got a baby on the way.
Yeah, right, bro. Oh, we all know I got one.
Yeah, but I told her, I was like, you might not know, this might not mean anything, but I'm gonna go ahead and say because I have nobody else to tell it to, but in the 10th round, like if the shorter guy Cruz can get a knockdown, like this could sway into his direction. If he was to get a knockdown in that 10th round, like it would have been a
Definitely.
factor. Yeah. And even in the 12th round, that would have given him
Definitely.
a point. He would have been up a point.
Yeah, you know what's cool though about Isaac Cruz? You know, right after the
Yeah,
fight, he
Cruz,
went to the hotel and that dude partied, bro, with all his fans. He didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I know he did. I know he did, man. I definitely know he did.
Yeah, he did.
Definitely know he did. Good fights this weekend. Haney, like me, you was talking earlier, before the fights this week. Devin, I still, even though he looked, he looked good as JoJo. He went in there, he got the job done. But for me, I cannot put my finger on it, but it is just something missing. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I don't know what Haney would do against Lomachenko. I don't know how Haney would. Yeah, I don't know. It's just something missing. Tank, I know what Tank is. Tank didn't look his best Sunday night, but against the top 135 pounders, I pretty much know what I can expect from Tank. Yep. Tank's gonna be a problem, you know what I mean? But with Haney, I don't know. I do not know. So I went into this weekend looking to get some questions answered, just to come out of this weekend with the same questions needed to be answered with Devin. You know what I mean? I just don't know what to think about Devin. The talent is there, the jab, the hand speed. I mean, I see it all, but it's just I don't know what it is. It's just something missing with Devin Haney.
No, I agree with that, bro. I tell George this all the time.
Yeah,
like,
he does.
I don't know if it's I don't know if it's just the power thing, or I don't know if it's that he can't finish fighters. But I was telling George this before we got on. Haney's the first guy not to cut open JoJo Diaz.
Wow.
What does that tell you? What does that tell you about a fighter? Yeah, like that says a lot. Thank you. That's what I told George too. I mean, does that say something to the world, or does that say something to the division that he's beatable, or do you just gotta go in there and be at your best to beat Devin Haney? Because we all know what he can do, with his boxing IQ and his skill.
Yeah, and that, like we've talked now with that. We said, when you told me that there was something that about Haney that you couldn't figure out, it made sense to me. It's the same thing. Like even after this weekend, after this fight, I don't know if I could say that I saw improvements, but I definitely seen, if anything, I did see was more of a jab.
And body.
Yeah, I missed some body work, but I mean, you got to think about it too.
The body work was beautiful.
Yeah, yes. Very. And you got to think about it too. The people that are in his corner, so that could be a big factor into, helping for his successes. But I still, same thing. I know people want to say, hey, he was hurt in his last two fights, or rather, how many times Diaz hurt him or Leonardo's hurt him that one time. It's still not quite that for me. Like the grit or the chin or him being able to carry himself. Maybe this isn't his division. He just looks. It's just like something too about his body language to me that kind of throws me off a little bit. Maybe he belongs in a 140.
Hey, you know what? And pointing out something that Julian said, man. Being that Haney, was the first guy not to cut Diaz, and as far as the power, if you look at the body work that Devin Haney was doing, those body shots that he was hitting Diaz with, Diaz shouldn't have had anything in the tank to fight rounds 8 through 12 if those shots had power on them. You know what I mean? Those body shots that Haney was hitting him with, he shouldn't have nothing in that tank to still push rounds 8 through 12. And plus that he doesn't cut you up. Yeah, it's the power. It's the power.
He should have
It's the power.
he should have ended him with all the body shots that he landed. I mean, typically we see fighters do that in a lot of other fights. The body
Hmm.
breakdown and then the knockout.
Right.
And but we didn't,
Exactly.
but we can't see that from Devin Haney, and that's something that he's lacking. I mean, it's just, but that's to be seen. I mean, moving forward with his career. But like I said, I mean, the boxing IQ's there, the skills there. But it's just now, just we got to see power now. That's what we want to see. If you're ready for that.
Yeah.
That's right.
So now that we've kind of mentioned too right now, like the lightweight division. So I guess we'll start with Haney. Like, where does he go next? Like, what are his options? We know Ryan Garcia's in the background somewhere, dropping tweets, calling guys out, saying,
Yeah.
my guy, the guy I fought was tougher than your guy, this, and that. So, with Haney, like, what are his possibilities? Anyway, we'll start with you. Who do you think is next for Haney? Who do you think?
And wait,
Uh-oh, I think we lost him again. His mic is on. Like it doesn't show like it's muted. All right, Julian, if you want to answer real quick until we get him back. So,
I mean,
talk to me, Haney.
The lightweight division is filled with people that we want to see fight each other. I mean, all over the place.
Yep.
I would definitely like to see Loma and Haney. To see what Haney can do. I mean, but I think Loma's hungry for those titles again.
Yeah.
And I really think it's going to play out this way, where Loma is going to fight Haney. Loma's actually going to beat Haney, and he's going to go get his belts back from Cambosos.
Okay.
That's just how I feel. That's just what I feel is going to happen. Maybe we might see it later next year. I want to see it next year, but I'm really hoping there's like a Super 6 lightweight battle. I mean, there has to be.
There's plenty of guys too at that division to make a tournament.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool. I mean, the lightweight division just stacked. I mean, he can't even put Teofimo back in there once he gets healthy again. I mean, you have, like I said, Ryan Garcia. I mean, you still got George Garcia and Isaac Cruz, like we mentioned earlier. I mean, those two can go at it after their lost fights, just to get themselves back into the mix.
Yep.
I mean, you have the 140 division, 135. All the way through welterweight is stacked. I mean, any of these guys can go up in weight too,
or maybe come down for a nice little payday.
Yep, that too. But I really think this sets up Loma for his comeback. To try and get his belts back. But I just feel, I mean, can he beat? Is he faster than Haney, or is Haney faster than him?
Damn.
That's because they're both quick, bro. But I just feel Loma has more power.
It would almost be like Gary Russell versus Lomachenko in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good comparison right there.
Yeah, it is.
Gary Russell Magasayo, by the way, January 22nd, everybody.
Yeah. Anyway, we lost you again. I don't know.
I'm back. I'm getting good at this.
No, you're good. So we didn't get to get your answer. So who do you think is next for Haney?
Actually, man, I think Haney could fight anybody at the top of 135, but you better put him in there against the right guy. You better put him in there against the right guy. I don't know. Being that Haney doesn't have any power, I don't think you want to put him in there against a puncher.
Nope.
Yeah. Against a guy that can punch, because I go back to you remember Mildred Taylor and Chavez?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I do.
Mildred Taylor had fantastic. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody faster than Mildred Taylor. Even Gary Russell Jr., Floyd Mayweather. Mildred Taylor had phenomenal hand speed. He just didn't have any power. He did not have any power. And once Chavez figured out, hey, this guy's tickling me. It's not punching me. Once Chavez knew that he could go inside of that pocket and stand in there with Mildred Taylor and didn't have to worry about getting hurt, and he could start ripping off those body shots. He broke Mildred Taylor, man. He broke him. When he found out that he couldn't hurt him. And I think that'll be the same thing with Haney, man. He gets in there against the right puncher. He gets in there against the right puncher that can slip past his jab and get on the inside with him and realizes that Haney's not going to hurt him. It could be bad news, man.
That
could be bad news.
That is correct.
Yeah, and like you said, in that, to put him in there with somebody that won't hurt him or that's dangerous. I could read off. Like I said, the top 10 list just came out, on ESPN for Mike Carpenter, and I'm looking at it, and everybody in this division pretty much can hit it. Yeah, and he's already faced Linares, and he already faced Jojo Diaz. So Cambosa is number 1. Number 2 is Lomachenko. Number 3, Tank Davis. Haney at 4. Lopez 5. Garcia 6. And even though, we still aren't quite sure about Ryan Garcia. Like, he's fast, he still hits hard, but I'm still not quite sure about him. I still think he just lacks, like grit or like that toughness, at least for me.
The discipline,
right?
And the discipline.
You could even see Eddie Reynoso and Canelo both told him, I mean, you need to start stepping up your game or you're out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think he's probably going to take that seriously now. Because who wants to leave the Canelo team right now?
No.
The No Boxing, No Life team. That's the team to be on right now, especially with everything going on. The champions has stabled. Ryan Garcia could be in that conversation, but he has to get in this damn ring. And he needs to.
Yeah, you're definitely right. And then the last 2 guys, Richard Comey and Isaac Cruz, are the last 2 guys in the top 10. So we know Comey could hit. We see what Cruz could do. Cruz could hit too. He's knocked out Magdaleno in the first round, so he's got some power. I think for some reason I see a surprise happening. I guess you call them Easter eggs or whatever people call them, but for some reason, I know we were talking about it a little bit. What's next for Ryan Garcia? I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. Garcia, Haney didn't take really no damage to where he's got to take significant time off. So who knows? Right. We might see Ryan Cruz and Devin Haney, maybe like mid-spring or maybe the beginning of spring. So that's not very long from now. I don't know.
What about a Shakur Stevenson versus the Ryan Garcia?
Oh man, Ryan don't want that.
That's what hey, though. But I'm saying that too. I said that too. But I'm talking. What about those 2 going at it to face Tank Davis?
You trying to retire Garcia?
Most likely. But hey, I'm just saying it sells. It'll sell.
It sells, but
it'll sell. But it's a dangerous fight for both fighters. Yes, Shakur's the bad. We all know Shakur will probably most likely win that fight.
Oh,
but like I said, but we also said that about Camboso's tail too, and look what the hell happened. But we never know what happens in this damn sport. This sport's could surprise the shit out of you. And,
yeah, I think Ryan is missing the most important thing that you need, and that's heart, man. I don't think Ryan Garcia has no heart. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't think he. It's one thing to have talent, but I don't think he has no heart. I don't. Backing out of the fight with what was his name? Just a couple of months ago. What was the guy's name? Fortuna.
Oh yeah.
That was supposed to be
backing out of the fight with Fortuna.
On that JoJo ass.
Yeah, and then he had mental issues, and it's just all kind of stuff. And every time there's a tough challenge in front of him, he finds a way to back out of the fight.
Yep.
You know, and if you're a true fighter, in the back of every fight, no fighter wants to lose, but you can't go in there afraid to take a loss. You know what I mean? I think Ryan is more so worried about his brand.
Yeah, very true.
You know,
Yep.
yeah, he's more so worried about his brand. He's not a dog. He's he's
He's ready
not
for
he's not a
it.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, because you put him in there against Shakur, Ryan don't want that. I mean, when we match up the talent, we're like, oh yeah, man, that could be nah, not against Shakur.
That's
He
a
don't
different
want
ball
that.
game. That's a different ball game.
That's a whole different ball game because we definitely know Shakur's calling out everybody.
Yeah, there's
Shakur's
even
calling out everybody.
Do,
Mhm.
do you see him faring? How do you see him faring against Lomachenko though?
I think he would do pretty good against Lomachenko. Now, whether he would win or not, that's something else. Whether he will win or not, that's something else. But I think Shakur, because he has the height, he has the defense, which is most important. He has the defense, he has head movement, he has a good jab. Shakur is another guy that doesn't have a lot of power. But he
very
has
true.
enough to keep you off of him. But he doesn't have that power like how Teofimo does. Teofimo has power. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have that type of power, but he has the boxing ability, he has the IQ, and he definitely has the defense. I think he would do good against Lomachenko. Out of all those guys at 135 that you had named, I think Tank is the best one. Now, whether he proves to be, even though we didn't see what we expected against Isaac Cruz. I still think Tank is the best one out of all those names mentioned. But like how you guys was mentioning earlier, a tournament, man, we got to see these guys fight each other. And that's one thing that I don't like about this climate of boxing. We don't see the fights that we should see. And we
Thank
don't see them often enough. And I think that's the problem that boxing is having compared to the UFC. The UFC, there's no problem for you to see the fights that you want to see. There's no problem. Matter of fact, you might see them 2 or 3 times.
you. Yeah,
You
no,
know,
you're not lying
you know,
there.
but with boxing, we don't see the fight. Not only do we not see them often enough, just like look at this Terrence Crawford, um, um,
Spence.
Errol Spence saga. This is ridiculous, man. And it was the same thing before with Roy and Bernard Hopkins, the same thing with Mayweather and
Wow.
Pacquiao. Now here it comes with, Errol and Terrence, man. It's just getting ridiculous, man.
Amir
You
Khan and
know,
Cal Brooks finally getting made.
yes, after exactly. You know what I'm saying? How past due is that fight? Or Benavidez and Canelo, or Canelo and one of the Charlo
Yeah.
brothers. I mean, we should have been seeing one of these fights, man. And boxing has so many big fights that it can make, but it just always seems to be something in the way all the time, man.
No, that's true. I mean, me and George talk about it all the time. I mean, look at UFC this weekend, putting on a power card.
Another one.
Right.
Yeah, they put on another power card, and then you have 3 different boxing matches this weekend. I mean, you have PBC, you have DAZN, and then you have Showtime, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, you have all 3 going on this weekend.
And even
But
Tuesday, sorry, Inouye's fighting on Tuesday too on ESPN. Like you couldn't throw that on a card. I mean, that's what they should be doing. They should be working with each other. They should realize that.
he's a top 3 pound for pound in the world. Why isn't he on a Saturday or a Sunday or
Mhm.
Friday?
Right.
Yeah, and you go back to like the Christy Martin and Delo and Chavez Senior and Mike Tyson. They were all once on a card.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't mind being on a Mike Tyson card or vice versa. Like
If I'm not mistaken, wasn't that under Don King?
Don
Yeah,
King. You're right.
Yeah, Don King used to put on cards like that all the time.
Yeah.
yep. Until all the sagas with him, Rob stealing money from all his fighters came out. That's when all that shit changed. You
Hey,
know,
Very
but,
true.
but hey, Don King was the shit though. He was that's the reason I call Dana White the modern era Don King. He makes
That's
the
exactly
fights.
what he is.
He makes
That's
the fights.
exactly what he is.
You want to make the fights you want to see, and that's why UFC right now kind of has a little bit of an upbeat on boxing right now.
It's
because they
very
don't
true,
have
man.
all the promotional companies red tape to fight through. All those guys are under the UFC banner. And with PBC and the Zone and Golden Boy and Top Rank, it's just it's way too many promotional companies and way too many belts.
Yeah, exactly. I feel one bout per freaking division is fine.
Exactly, exactly.
I
And
mean,
then you would get the fights that we're looking for. And then the same with UFC, it doesn't matter if a guy has one loss, two losses, they're gonna end up fighting each other 2, 3 times.
That's right.
Which is, if it's a good fight, then okay. And then if you don't win that bout, what do? You go to the next division. You see the guys do that. They can't win it in the middleweight, they'll go up or they'll go down. So, it's unfortunate. That's what's the climate of boxing, like you said, that there's just too many promoters, too many hands in the pot. There's too many chiefs that just want to be paid. And it's at the end of the day, man, it's unfortunate. I love boxing. There's too much
Paul,
politics, and it's a mafia, man. It's a mafia at the end of the day.
That's
you got
right.
you got to give it to Eddie Hearn though, man, for making a lot of these fights happen though right now. I mean, Eddie Hearn's been the one making a lot of this shit happen, and
He
and
even got
have
Adrian Broner reaching out to him because he
yeah.
wants a payday.
I mean, look at this fight this weekend, Lomachenko and Comey. Okay, you have two top tens going at it, and in the lightweight division. What does this do for either one winning this weekend? Do they get a shot at Haney? Do they get a shot at Tang? Do they get a shot at Shakur? I mean, there's just a lot of shit going on in boxing right now, but that we want to see. I'm sure.
Right.
I mean, and it's yeah, boxing is in a sad state right now. I mean, with all the Twitter wars and shit like that. I mean, it's old already. I mean, Jake Paul's the one that's calling out more people than
Oh
not getting
man,
us. That's kind of sad. I mean, that's sad to say, but I mean, he's the one talking shit like they should be doing in boxing. I mean, just go at it and go after the best. I mean, I understand he's not going after the best, but I mean, he's doing what he does to sell fights, and that's what you want to do with a lot of these fights, sell fights like the UFC fighters do.
Yeah, if you're a retired boxer or if you're a retired UFC guy, I don't have no problem with you fighting a Jake Paul or something, a little sideshow if that's what you
Yeah,
want to do. But if you are a current fighter or if you are a current UFC fighter, I do not want to see you fighting Jake Paul.
me neither. Me neither.
Everybody keeps calling for it, but you're right, absolutely right. Like, what are you doing?
I
Right.
mean, understand the paydays there, man. But hey, I mean, and some of that shit sometimes that has to go. The celebrity boxing thing's kind of getting old already. As this year's panned out. I mean, of course, coming off of last year, I mean, we're getting some kind of entertainment this year.
Right.
And we were trying to end the year on a high note with this weekend's boxing, and
And
But what
next weekend too.
yeah, next
yeah.
week, and then of course, I mean, what does 2022 have in store for us? The lightweight
And,
division, the welterweight division, the heavyweight division, the middleweight division.
right,
We're
and just like how you said earlier, man, with everything bottlenecked, there's a bottleneck at 135. There's a bottleneck at 147, at 154. 2022, we should see plenty. The fights are there. The
exactly.
fights are there to be made. They're there to be made. Are we going to see, if we can just see half of them? Maybe we don't get all of them, but if we should see half, look, if Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence doesn't go down in 2022, boxing has dropped the ball.
Again.
Period. It's
Welter-
again,
at welterweight at 147.
exactly.
I mean,
They
that
have
that was
dropped the
that
ball.
that was once a prized. That is actually a prized division, considering it was Floyd Mayweather's division at one point. I mean, he prized that whole division out. All the people he fought, from Cotto, Mosley, Pacquiao. I mean, you have the names, but he fought. I mean, yes, some of us can actually say he fought a lot of these guys out of their prime. This and that. Whatever. But it's Mayweather.
Yeah, it would be a total fail if that fight does not happen. I think it will. I could see I could see I see actually Terrence Crawford calling him out a little bit, and I heard there was a response to from Spence. I didn't really see it until I didn't see the response, but I didn't really look into it too much until we actually got on. I was like, well, when I get a chance later on, I'll take a look. But
Well,
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out.
TC's talking shit, saying, "Well, the big fish, where's he at?" He said,
Yeah, I saw that.
and he's in the ocean. He's actually in the
Yeah,
ocean saying this shit.
he's like, "Where are you? I'm
cause
not gonna be able to find you in that big ass ocean."
Yeah,
yeah, cause I constantly see Terrence Crawford calling out Errol. Errol Spence does not have that same energy towards Terrence Crawford, and like me and you was talking last week, George. I don't think Errol Spence is afraid of Terrence Crawford, but I
Mm.
don't think he wants to fight Terrence Crawford. I
yeah.
don't think Errol wants that fight. I don't.
I,
I
I,
don't
I,
think he wants that fight.
I agree with it. That's 100%. I agree with that one.
I mean, shit, man. We got to get these fights going, but Anway, thanks for coming on, man. I know, we got into this weekend's past fights. This week we're looking to shoot another episode, and I would be glad to have you on. We're just gonna discuss, the Hall of Fame guys that got inducted today: Miguel Cotto, James Toney, and Roy Jones, and we're just gonna get a little more in depth with those later on during the week.
Oh man, I can't wait for that one. Can't
Yeah,
wait for that one.
pretty much, man. What I want to do, I was telling George, I just want to recap the careers, of all three of those guys that we pretty much all grew up watching. I believe we've watched them more than a lot of the older fighters. We
Yeah,
know who they are, especially Roy Jones Jr. and Miguel Cotto. I mean, James Lights Out Tony. I mean, you can't you can't diss that dude, man, because that boy could. He was a knockout artist too.
lights out.
Hey, the best show. Hey, the best ones I've ever seen to fight behind that shoulder roll is Floyd and James Toney, man.
Yeah,
They could naturally fight behind that shoulder roll, man.
exactly, and that's where Floyd learned it from because Floyd Senior was actually in the gym with him. Correct?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
And
it.
both of them are from Michigan.
No shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
Was
Well,
it
there you
Grand
go.
Rapids?
Grand
Yep.
Rapids. Yep.
Both of them from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, man, for sure. We definitely gotta get Amway on here this week, man. Break down the fights and talk about these Hall of Famers this week, man.
Hey
Yeah,
man,
for sure.
can't wait, man. Can't wait.
Yeah, and then
You know,
we got to see what happened with Jonathan. He went MIA I guess he went MIA, but it's all right.
yeah,
Um,
we get him on here next week.
yeah, we'll get him on here for sure next week. But I'll get with you and White during the week, and we'll discuss that episode that we're gonna be doing, and then try to um get into some of this weekend's fights as well. I know there's some fights happening Friday and Saturday, and then the following week there's fights as well. So there's plenty of content. Julian, as always, man, it's a
Always a
pleasure,
pleasure.
dude. And we're always this is what we do. We talk boxing. Anyway, thank you again, and we'll be keeping in contact with you. You'll be a regular here on this show, man. And I love your insight. Like I said, I wish we could have put on the 2 hour conversation that me and you had. That was awesome. That was super awesome. I
Yeah,
could see why Jonathan was like, you know what, you got to get this guy on, and very knowledgeable, and he was a fighter too, so he understands the game.
Yep, a lot of knowledge, man. I mean, you pickpocketed a lot of the things that I was telling George, too, about a lot of the fights, and pretty much, I mean, you hit everything on the button.
appreciate it, guys. Appreciate it, guys. And hopefully, man, going into the new year, going in 2022, hopefully boxing gives us something to talk about. Because the fights are here to be made. You know, um, boxing just has to do their job because we'll definitely do ours.
Yeah,
Oh
we
yeah,
definitely will. Yes, great so far. Fourth quarter of this year too. So
Yeah, yeah.
let's continue the
Fourth
road,
quarter
man.
is what saved it.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. No shit. You ain't lying. You're not lying.
yeah.
But yeah, but
Signing
like
off, guys. Thank you very much, Julian.
later on, guys, Fanway, George, see y'all, man.
Off the
All
road.
right, gentlemen. All right, gentlemen. See you. See you in a couple of days.
Right on. Have a good night.
You too.